am Haley Brooks, 35, and literally last weekend, my rep as the family's financial backbone? Yeah, it totally backfired. The lake house I'd worked my butt off to buy at 28, my one true sanctuary, it blew up into a full-on betrayal when I joined a family video call from my cozy Denver apartment. My parents, with those smug smiles, straight up announced they'd sold my property to bankroll my sister's extravagant wedding, and when I pushed back, the screen froze with their glares. "You're so selfish, Haley," Mom snapped, with my sister and Dad nodding like puppets. But here's the tea. Their shade didn't break me, it lit a spark. I'm not just pushing back, I'm about to flip the script and change everything. A quick note, this story is copyrighted by the YouTube channel Guest Stories. Reposting, revoicing, or editing this content without permission constitutes copyright infringement. Thank you for respecting original creative work. Now, back to the story. I've always been the reliable one. Growing up in Boulder, I was the kid who'd rather save my allowance for a rainy day than blow it on candy like my sister Tara did. By 16, I was tutoring classmates for cash while Tara partied. I didn't mind. Helping felt good, and my parents' proud nods were enough. But over time, those nods faded unless I was handing over money. After college, I landed a solid project management job, climbing the ladder while sending checks home for Dad's car repairs or Tara's emergency shopping sprees. They called me dependable. I felt like an ATM. The lake house was my rebellion. Nestled in Grand Lake, it was a cedar-sided dream with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the water. I'd saved for years, skipping vacations and eating instant noodles to afford it. Signing the deed at 28, I cried, not from stress but from pride. It was mine. A place where I could breathe, kayak at dawn, or just sit on the dock with a coffee, free from family demands. I never told them about it. Why would I? They'd never visited my Denver place, never asked about my life unless it involved a wire transfer. Last Saturday, I was sprawled on my couch, scrolling through work emails, when Tara texted about a quick family call. I hesitated. These calls were usually Tara gushing about her wedding plans while Mom and Dad fawned, and I'd sit there, muted, nodding. But guilt tugged. I hadn't called Mom in weeks. So I logged into Zoom, propped my laptop on the coffee table, and braced myself. Tara's face filled the screen, her engagement ring glinting as she waved. Mom and Dad were squeezed onto their old plaid couch, grinning like they'd won the lottery. "Haley!" Dad boomed. "Glad you could make it." His cheer felt off, too syrupy. I forced a smile, my stomach tightening. They chattered about Tara's venue, the guest list, the custom gown. I sipped my tea, half listening, until Mom's voice sharpened. "Haley, we've got big news." She paused, exchanging a look with Dad. "We sold the lake house to cover Tara's wedding." My mug slipped, tea splashing my lap. "What?" I choked out. "My lake house?" Tara rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, Haley, it's just a house." Dad chuckled. "We knew you'd understand, kiddo, family comes first." I stared, my pulse hammering. They didn't know I owned it outright. They thought it was theirs to sell. My fingers shook as I unmuted, voice low. "You had no right." Mom's smile vanished. "Don't start, Haley, we did what's best." I leaned closer to the screen, heart racing. "You forged my name, what didn't you?" Silence. Tara looked away, picking at her nails. Dad's jaw twitched. Mom snapped. "You're so ungrateful." But their guilt was loud in the quiet. I ended the call, my screen going black, my chest heaved as I paced, the betrayal sinking in. They'd crossed a line and I wasn't their doormat anymore. I grabbed my phone, dialing my lawyer friend Sam. This wasn't over. As Sam's phone rang in my ear, the dial tone echoing like a distant warning, I sank onto the edge of my couch, my free hand gripping the cushion until my knuckles turned white. The betrayal replayed in my mind. Their casual announcement, like selling my lake house, was no bigger than deciding on dinner. How had it come to this? While waiting for Sam to answer, my thoughts spiraled back, pulling me into memories I'd buried under years of forced smiles and transferred funds. It wasn't just this one act, it was a lifetime of being invisible unless I was paying the bill. I remembered my high school graduation vividly. I'd been valedictorian, pouring nights into studying while working part-time at a local cafe. The ceremony was in the school gym, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and fresh flowers. I stood on stage, heart pounding, delivering my speech about perseverance. My parents were in the third row, Dad fidgeting with his tie, Mom checking her watch. Tara, 2 years younger, sat beside them, scrolling on her phone. When I finished, the applause was polite, but as I stepped down, clutching my diploma, Mom hugged me quickly. "That's nice, Haley," she said, her voice flat, already turning to Tara. "But did you hear? Tara made the cheer squad." Dad clapped Tara on the back, beaming. "That's my girl. Real spirit." I forced a grin, swallowing the lump in my throat, my achievement dissolving like sugar in rain. That pattern repeated through college. I majored in business at CU Boulder, scraping by on scholarships and 2 jobs, tutoring and waitressing. My junior year, I won a national entrepreneurship contest with a pitch for a sustainable app that connected local farmers to buyers. The prize was $5,000 and a feature in a business magazine. I called home excited, my voice bubbling as I described the judge's praise. Mom listened half-heartedly over the phone, the clatter of dishes in the background. "Sounds complicated," she muttered. "But Tara just got engaged to that nice boy from her sorority. Isn't that wonderful?" Dad jumped in. "Yeah, wedding bells. We'll need help with the deposit, Haley." I sent the money, my contest win forgotten, the magazine clipping tucked into a drawer where it yellowed unseen. By 25, I'd landed my first big job as a project coordinator for a tech firm in Denver. The promotion came after I streamlined a major client's workflow, saving them thousands. My boss threw a small office party, cupcakes and cheers in the break room. I texted the family group chat a photo of me with my new business cards. Tara responded first. "Cool, but check this out," followed by pics of her new car, bought with a little help from Mom and Dad. When I visited home that weekend, pulling up in my beat-up Honda, no one mentioned the promotion. Dinner was all about Tara's latest vacation photos from Mexico, funded by who knows what. Dad passed the potatoes saying, "Tara's got that wanderlust, living the dream." I nodded, poking at my food, the words, "What about my dream?" stuck in my chest. The lake house purchase at 28 was my quiet victory. I'd saved obsessively, cutting out extras like gym memberships or nights out. The day I closed on it, I drove up alone, the gravel crunching under my tires. Unlocking the door, the scent of pine hit me, and I collapsed on the worn sofa, tears streaming. It was freedom. But even then, family shadows loomed. That same year, Tara graduated college, barely, after switching majors twice. My parents threw her a massive party in their backyard, string lights twinkling, a catered spread. I sent a check for $2,000 to help with costs, dipping into my house fund. At the party, I arrived with a generic card, hugging Tara as she gushed about her future plans. Mom pulled me aside in the kitchen, her hand on my arm. "Haley, we're a bit short for the photographer. Could you?" I wrote another check, my pen hesitating on the amount. No one asked about my life, my stresses. Dad toasted Tara, to our star. I clinked glasses, smiling through gritted teeth. Year after year it built. My 30th birthday I treated myself to a solo trip to the lake house, kayaking under starry skies. Back home, Tara's baby shower dominated another event I funded partially. "Family helps family," Mom always said, her eyes expectant. My career milestones, a senior manager role leading a team of 10, were met with, "That's great, but Tara needs help with the nursery." I'd stare at my phone after those calls, fingers hovering over the transfer app, resentment bubbling. Why was Tara's conventional path, marriage, kids, stability, celebrated, while my independence was ignored? I was the safety net, not the success story. Sam's voice finally cut through the ringing. "Haley, what's up?" I blinked back to the present, my grip on the phone slick with sweat. "They sold my lake house," I whispered, the words tasting like ash. As I spilled the details, those flashbacks fueled my resolve. No more invisibility. This time I'd make them see me. As I poured out the story to Sam over the phone, my voice cracking with each revelation about the forged documents and their casual entitlement, he listened quietly at first, then interrupted with sharp questions. "Did they admit to signing your name? Do you have the original deed?" I paced my living room, the hardwood creaking under my bare feet, as I confirmed the details. But even as we talked strategy, freezing the sale, potential charges, my mind drifted again, this time to the root of what they'd stolen. The lake house wasn't just property. It was my secret triumph, built from years of quiet determination. While Sam typed notes on his end, muttering about injunctions, I closed my eyes, letting the memory pull me back to that pivotal aha moment when I decided to claim something entirely for myself. It started 5 years after college, when I was 27 and buried in my first real corporate grind. My job as a project coordinator paid decently, but the hours were brutal. 60 plus a week, staring at spreadsheets until my eyes blurred. I just sent another $1,500 home after Dad's minor surgery turned into a stack of bills. Lying in my tiny Denver apartment that night, the walls closing in with the hum of the fridge, I stared at the ceiling, resentment twisting in my gut. Why was I always the fixer? Tara was out clubbing with friends, posting selfies from bars, while I skipped happy hours to balance budgets. That's when it hit me, like a cold splash of water. I needed an escape, something untouchable by family strings. Flipping on my laptop, I searched Colorado lake properties, my fingers trembling on the keys. A listing popped up, a modest 2-bedroom on Grand Lake, overgrown yard, but those views, endless water reflecting jagged peaks. Price, $250,000. My savings? Barely $50,000. But in that moment the aha ignited, this could be mine. No more pouring everything into their voids, I'd build my own haven. The struggle kicked in immediately, a relentless grind that tested every ounce of my resolve. I crunched numbers obsessively, printing spreadsheets and pinning them to my fridge like battle plans. To hit the down payment, I slashed expenses. No more takeout, no streaming subscriptions, even brewing coffee at home instead of the corner cafe. Mornings, I'd wake at 5 a.m., chugging that bitter brew while applying for side gigs, freelance consulting on weekends, dog walking apps during lunch breaks. My hands would ache from typing proposals late into the night, eyes straining under the desk lamp's harsh glow. Friends noticed. One invited me to a concert, but I declined, citing work. Really, it was the house fund. I'd transfer every extra dollar into a high-yield savings account, watching the balance tick up like a slow heartbeat. There were setbacks too. 6 months in, my car broke down. Transmission shot. Repair bill, $2,000. I clenched the steering wheel in the mechanic's lot, tears pricking as I debated dipping into savings. But no. I sold old clothes online, picked up extra shifts, ate ramen for weeks. My reflection in the mirror grew gaunt, cheekbones sharper, but each sacrifice fueled the fire. "This is for you," I'd whisper, taping a photo of the lake house to my bathroom mirror. Family demands didn't stop either, adding invisible weights. Tara called one evening, her voice bubbly through the speakerphone as I chopped vegetables for a cheap stir-fry. "Haley, the bridal shower's coming up. Can you spot me for the venue? It's only $800. I gripped the knife tighter, the blade hovering over a carrot. "I'm tight this month," I lied, my throat dry. She huffed. "You're always so responsible. Figure it out." Mom piled on later. "Don't let your sister down." I sent half, $400, my fingers hesitating on the send button. The account balance mocking me. But I recommitted, skipping my own birthday dinner to work overtime. Nights blurred into exhaustion. I'd collapse on the couch, dreaming of that dock, the water lapping gently. To stay motivated, I drove to Grand Lake on a rare free Sunday, parking down the road from the property. Sitting on a boulder, wind whipping my hair, I sketched the house in a notebook, adding imagined flower beds, a hammock. The realtor's sign swayed in the breeze, and I whispered promises to myself, "You'll get there." By my 28th birthday, the massive success materialized, hidden from everyone. I'd hit the magic number, $60,000 down plus closing costs. The mortgage approval came via email during a team meeting. I excused myself to the bathroom, fist pumping silently at the sink. The closing day was crisp autumn, leaves crunching underfoot as I pulled up to the title office. My realtor, a kind woman named Linda, handed me the keys, her smile warm. "Congratulations, Haley, this is all yours." I signed the stack of papers, pen scratching steadily though my hand shook with adrenaline. Driving to the house alone, radio off, the silence amplified my pounding heart. Unlocking the door, the musty scent of disuse hit me. Cobwebs in corners, dust on sills. But the windows. Oh, those windows framed the lake like a painting, sunlight dancing on ripples. I dropped my bag, sinking to the floorboards back against the wall. Tears came then, hot and unrelenting. Not from sadness, but pure, raw achievement. I'd done it. No help, no handouts. Just me. Over the next months, I transformed it into my sanctuary, one weekend at a time. I'd load my car with thrift store finds, a plaid throw for the couch, mismatched mugs for the kitchen. Mornings, I'd kayak out, paddles slicing water, muscles burning in the best way, Evenings, fire crackling in the pit, I'd journal gratitude, simple things like the quiet. I kept it secret, dodging family questions about my weekend getaways with vague, camping replies. Why share? They'd only see dollar signs. This was my hidden world, a testament to my strength. Sam's voice snapped me back. Haley, this is fraud, felony level, we can stop the sale. I nodded to myself, wiping my eyes. The lake house wasn't just a building, it was proof I could build without them. And now I'd fight to keep it. As Sam's reassurance echoed through the phone, we'll file first thing Monday, Haley, hang tight. I leaned back against my kitchen counter, the cool granite pressing into my palms, grounding me. But even as he outlined next steps, my mind raced ahead and back, tangling in the what-ifs. To truly feel the gut punch of that call, though, I have to rewind to earlier that Saturday, when the day unfolded like any other productive weekend, my world humming with quiet momentum. I was on the verge of something big at work, a deal that could redefine my career, and the last thing I expected was for my family to torpedo it all with their greed. Little did I know, as I sipped my morning coffee, that the evening's quick chat would expose fractures I'd ignored for too long. That morning started early, as always. My alarm buzzed at 6:30 a.m. and I rolled out of bed in my Denver apartment, the city skyline peeking through the blinds like a hazy promise. I'd built a solid life here, senior project manager at a mid-sized tech firm specializing in sustainable energy apps. But over the last year I'd quietly launched my own side consulting gig, advising startups on workflow optimization. It was my company, in a way, a one-woman operation run from my home office, born from that same determination that got me the lake house. No fanfare, no announcements, just me, hustling in the shadows. And now, it was paying off. I had a potential client, a major green tech investor, on the hook for a 6-figure contract. We'd been emailing all week, fine-tuning details, and Friday's call had ended with their lead saying, Haley, this proposal is gold. Let's aim to sign by mid-next week. My fingers had tingled as I hung up, the thrill of it buzzing in my veins. This deal wasn't just money, it was validation, a leap toward full independence, maybe even quitting my day job to go all in on my venture. I spent the morning at my desk, the sunlight slanting across my laptop screen as I revised the final pitch deck. My cat, Whiskers, curled on the windowsill, purring softly while I typed, deleting a bullet point here, bolding a stat there. Make it pop, I muttered to myself, zooming in on a graph showing 30% efficiency gains for past clients. Sweat beaded on my forehead despite the AC, the stakes felt massive. If this landed, I could upgrade the lake house, maybe add solar panels, turn it into a true eco-retreat. I paused, stretching my arms overhead, cracking my knuckles. The thought of the house always centered me. I'd planned to drive up there next weekend, escape the city noise. Little indulgences like that kept me going. By noon, I hit send on the updated deck, my heart skipping as the email whooshed away. Fingers crossed, I whispered, closing the laptop with a satisfied click. Lunch was simple, a salad from the fridge, eaten standing at the counter while scrolling news on my phone. No family texts yet, which was a relief. Tara's wedding loomed like a distant cloud. She'd been bombarding the group chat with vendor links, each one pricier than the last. I'd contributed already, $3,000 for the florist last month, but drew the line at more. They can handle it, I'd told myself, though guilt nipped at the edges. To shake it off, I headed out for a jog around Washington Park, the paths lined with blooming wildflowers, joggers nodding as we passed. My sneakers pounded the gravel, breath steadying into a rhythm. With each step I visualized the deal closing, the wire transfer, the freedom to say no to family handouts forever. By mile 3 endorphins kicked in and I grinned at the ducks splashing in the pond. This was my life. Earned, controlled. Back home I showered, the hot water easing the tension in my shoulders. Towel drying my hair, I glanced at the clock. 3 p.m., time to tackle chores. I vacuumed the living room, the hum drowning out stray thoughts, then folded laundry on the couch, stacking shirts neatly. Whiskers batted at a sock, and I laughed, scooping him up for a quick cuddle. His fur was soft against my cheek, a small comfort. As the afternoon waned, I prepped dinner early, chopping veggies for a stir-fry, the knife's rhythmic chop soothing, but then my phone pinged, Tara's text. Family call at 7? Important wedding update. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Important? Probably another plea for cash. My stomach nodded, the day's high fading. I typed back, sure, but set the phone face down, ignoring the immediate thumbs up emoji from Mom. To distract myself, I dove back into work emails. The investor had replied, "Looking sharp, Haley. One more tweak on the timeline?" I fired off adjustments, my typing brisk, focus sharpening. This deal was close. I could taste it. By 6:30, the sun dipped low, casting golden hues through the windows. I brewed tea, chamomile to calm the brewing unease. Family calls were predictable. Tara center stage, parents enabling, me in the background. Just get through it, I coached myself, settling on the couch with my laptop. I adjusted the camera angle, smoothing my hair in the preview window. No makeup, no effort, why bother? The clock ticked to 7. I clicked join, the Zoom chime ringing like a bell toll. Their faces popped up, Tara beaming, ring flashing, Mom and Dad cozy on their couch. "Hey everyone," I said, voice even. Dad waved. "Haley, looking good." But his eyes darted to Mom, a hint of something unspoken. We dove into small talk. Weather, work snippets. I kept mine vague, busy as ever. No mention of the deal. Why invite questions? As Tara launched into wedding details, the venue's chandelier, the menu tastings, the conversation flowed around me. I nodded, sipping tea, my mind half on the investor's email. This was routine, tolerable. But then Mom cleared her throat, her expression shifting to that familiar mix of expectation and authority. "Haley, about the wedding costs?" My grip tightened on the mug. Here it came. Little did I know, this update was no mere ask. It was a confession, wrapped in entitlement, about to shatter my carefully built world. Mom's words hung in the Zoom window like a loaded pause, her eyebrows arched expectantly, while Dad shifted on the couch beside her, his fingers drumming lightly on his knee. A tick I'd seen 1,000 times when he was gearing up for an uncomfortable ask. Tara leaned forward, her perfectly manicured nails tapping the edge of her screen, that diamond ring catching the light again, almost mockingly. I set my tea mug down carefully on the coffee table, the ceramic clinking softly against the wood, buying myself a second to steady my breath. The call had barely been going 5 minutes, and already the air felt thick, charged with the familiar undercurrent of their judgments. I knew this dance. The subtle digs disguised as concern, the backhanded compliments that always circled back to how I could help more. But tonight, with my big deal simmering in the background, I felt a flicker of impatience. Still, I played along, voice neutral. "What about the costs, Mom?" She tilted her head, that sympathetic smile creeping in, the one that said, "Poor Haley, always so practical." "Well, honey, weddings aren't cheap these days. Tara's found this gorgeous venue up in the mountains, but the deposit, it's a bit more than we anticipated." Dad nodded vigorously, his glasses slipping down his nose. He pushed them up with one finger, avoiding my gaze. "Yeah, kiddo, inflation and all that, you know how it is." I did know. Knew because I'd been the one covering their inflation gaps for years. My jaw tightened, but I kept my expression blank, fingers interlacing in my lap to hide the slight tremble. Tara chimed in, her voice bright and oblivious. "It's going to be amazing, Haley, string lights everywhere, farm-to-table catering, but yeah, we could use a little boost from the family fund." The family fund? That was code for my bank account. I felt heat rise in my cheeks, but I swallowed it down, glancing at Whiskers as he stretched on the rug, oblivious to the tension. Before I could respond, Mom pivoted seamlessly into interrogation mode, her eyes narrowing just a fraction. "Speaking of which, how's that job of yours going? Still buried in all those meetings?" It wasn't a real question, it was a probe, laced with that condescending tone that implied my career was some quirky hobby. I shifted on the couch, the fabric scratching against my legs. "It's good actually, busy but productive." Dad chuckled, a low rumble that grated. "Productive, that's our Haley, always the worker bee, not like Tara here, chasing dreams with her event planning side gig." Tara preened, flipping her hair over one shoulder. "It's not a side gig anymore, Dad, I have clients now." Mom beamed at her. "Of course you do, sweetie, so creative. Haley, you should try something fun like that, might loosen you up a bit." The words landed like a slap, casual but cutting. Fun? Like I had time for fun when I was funding their fun? My nails dug into my palms, but I forced a laugh, short and brittle. Maybe someday. The barrage kept coming, each comment a tiny erosion of my patience. Tara leaned in closer to her camera, her face filling more of the screen. Hey sis, remember that time you sent me money for my yoga certification? Best investment ever. I'm teaching classes now. She said it like a compliment, but her eyes sparkled with that entitled glint, as if my sacrifice was just a footnote in her success story. I nodded slowly, my throat dry. Yeah, I remember. Mom jumped on it. See? That's what family does, helps each other out. You've always been so good at that, Haley. Reliable, steady. Not everyone can be the star, right? Dad grunted agreement, crossing his arms over his chest. Exactly. Tara's the one with the flair. You're the backbone. Backbone. ATM. The labels blurred in my mind, resentment coiling tighter in my chest. I glanced at my phone on the side table, half wishing for a work emergency to pull me away, but the screen stayed dark. They weren't done. Mom's voice softened, that faux concern creeping in. But seriously, Haley, are you dating anyone? At 35, you don't want to wait too long. Tara's got it all figured out. Husband, maybe kids soon. Tara giggled, holding up her ring again. Jeff's perfect. You should let me set you up with one of his friends. Though they're all pretty adventurous. Not sure if that's your speed. Adventurous. Code for not boring like you. My foot tapped unconsciously against the floor, a restless rhythm. I'm fine, really. Focused on work. Dad sighed, shaking his head slightly. Work. That's great and all, but life's more than spreadsheets, kiddo. Look at Tara, she balances it all. The comparison stung, as always, their praise for her conventional life a mirror to my lesser choices. I bit my lip, tasting the metallic tang, forcing myself not to snap back. These jabs were old hat, but tonight, with the lake house in my thoughts, and the deal on the horizon, they felt sharper, more invasive. As the minutes ticked by, the conversation looped back to the wedding, their entitlement shining through every word. Mom listed expenses, the dress alterations, the photographer's fee, her hands gesturing animatedly, fingers splaying like she was counting invisible dollars. It's all adding up, but it'll be worth it for Tara's big day. Tara nodded eagerly. Totally. And Haley, your gift could be chipping in for the honeymoon suite. It's only a couple grand. Only. I stared at the screen, my reflection in the corner showing furrowed brows. Dad cleared his throat. We appreciate you, Haley. Always have. You're the glue holding us together. Glue. More like the wallet. The pressure built, my heart thudding steadily, but I held my tongue, waiting for the right moment to push back. Little did I realize, the real bomb was still coming, hidden behind their smiles. The word, together, lingered in Dad's mouth like a hook, his eyes finally meeting mine through the screen, steady but with that underlying glint of assumption, the kind that said he'd already decided my answer. Mom nodded along, her lips pursed in that way she did when sealing a deal, while Tara fiddled with her necklace, a delicate gold chain Jeff had given her, her fingers twisting it absent-mindedly. I felt the couch cushions sink deeper under me as I leaned forward, my elbows digging into my knees, the weight of their expectations pressing like an invisible hand on my chest. The call had dragged on for what felt like an eternity of jabs, but this was the pivot, the moment they dropped the pretense and revealed the real reason for the update. My tea had gone cold on the table, untouched since Mom's earlier probes, and Whiskers had wandered off, leaving me alone in the frame. I cleared my throat, voice firmer than I felt. What exactly do you need from me this time? Mom exchanged a quick glance with Dad, her hand reaching over to pat his knee, a silent signal they'd rehearsed this. Well, Haley, we've been thinking about how to make this wedding truly special for Tara. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, you know? Tara smiled sweetly, batting her eyelashes at the camera. Yeah, sis, it's going to be epic. Outdoor ceremony, live band, the works. Dad cleared his throat again, louder this time, his fingers stopping their drumbeat. But to cover it all, we made a tough call. We sold the lake house. The words hit like a physical shove, my breath catching in my throat. I blinked, staring at their pixelated faces, waiting for the punchline that didn't come. The what? My voice was barely a whisper, my hands unclenching in my lap, fingers splaying out as if to grasp reality. Mom waved a hand dismissively, her rings flashing. Oh, come on, Haley. That old place up in Grand Lake. It was just sitting there, gathering dust. We figured it was family property anyway. Your grandparents left it to all of us, right? Wrong. So wrong. My mind reeled, flashing to the deed in my safe, my name alone on it. I'd bought it outright, no inheritance involved, Grandparents had passed years ago, leaving nothing but memories and a few trinkets. This was theft, pure and simple, but they sat there complacent, as if announcing a garage sale. Tara piped up, her tone light, almost giggling. "The buyers are this cute retired couple. They paid cash, boom, wedding fund." She clapped her hands softly, the sound tinny through the speakers. Dad nodded, pride swelling in his voice. "Smart move if I do say so. The market's hot right now, we got a great price." I felt nausea rise, bile burning the back of my throat, my fingers curled into fists again, nails biting into palms, the pain sharpening my focus. "You sold my lake house." The emphasis on "my" came out sharper than intended, my voice rising an octave. Mom's smile faltered, her eyebrows knitting. Haley, don't be silly, it's been in the family forever. We all chipped in over the years." Lies. I'd never mentioned it to them, kept it hidden precisely for this reason. How had they even found out? Public records? A slip-up in conversation? Dad leaned in, his face enlarging on the screen. "Look, kiddo, we knew you'd understand. Tara's wedding is important. You've always been the one to step up." Step up, like it was my duty. Tara tilted her head, pouting slightly. "Yeah, Haley, it's for the family. Think of the photos, we'll have a whole album." The casualness of it all ignited something deep inside, a slow burn turning to flame. I stood up abruptly, the laptop wobbling on the coffee table, my shadow looming over the camera. "How did you sell it? It's in my name." Silence stretched, thick and telling. Mom looked away, fussing with a throw pillow on the couch. Dad's jaw worked like he was chewing words. Tara's eyes widened, her hand freezing on the necklace. Finally, Mom sighed, exasperated. "We handled the paperwork. Signed what needed signing. It's done, Haley. The money's in the account for the wedding." Forgery. They admitted it without admitting it. My heart hammered, blood rushing in my ears. "You forged my signature? That's illegal. Felony fraud." The words tumbled out, stark and accusatory. Dad's face reddened, his finger jabbing toward the screen. "Now hold on, don't throw around words like that. We're family. We assumed you'd be okay with it." Assumed. That word sliced deepest. Tara crossed her arms, defensive now. "Geez, Haley, why are you making this a big deal? It's just a house. You've got your fancy job. Buy another one. Just a house. My sanctuary, my proof of self-worth, reduced to collateral for her fairy tale." Mom's voice turned, pleading, her hands clasping together. "Please, honey, don't ruin this for Tara. We've already promised the vendors." Ruin it? They were the ones who'd shattered trust. I paced a small circle, the room spinning slightly, my bare feet padding on the rug. "You had no right, that place is mine. I bought it with my money, my savings, not family money." The conversation peaked there, their composure cracking under my pushback. Dad's voice boomed, echoing slightly. "Ungrateful, after everything we've done for you?" What had they done? Emotional blackmail? Endless takes? Tara sniffled, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue that appeared from off-screen. "See? This is why I didn't want to tell her." Mom shushed her, then turned back to me, eyes hardening. "Haley, if you're going to be like this, maybe you shouldn't come to the wedding at all." The ultimate verdict. Betrayed and exiled in one breath. But instead of crumbling, a strange calm settled. They'd shown their true colors, assuming I'd roll over as always. Not this time. I stopped pacing, facing the camera squarely. "You're right, I won't." And with that, the line was drawn, the betrayal laid bare. My words, "You're right, I won't," hung in the digital void, the Zoom screen frozen in a tableau of shock. Mom's mouth agape, her hand paused mid-clasp. Dad's face flushed deeper, his glasses fogging slightly from the heat of his breath. Tara dabbing harder at her eyes, the tissue crumpling in her fist. The silence stretched, heavy and accusatory, my own reflection in the corner showing a woman I barely recognized. Eyes fierce, chin lifted, no trace of the usual compliance. I'd never spoken back like that, never drawn a boundary so sharp it cut the air. Their betrayal pulsed in my veins, the forgery confession replaying like a bad loop, and in that deepest pit of humiliation, where their entitlement had stripped me bare, I felt exposed, raw. Like every handout I'd ever given was thrown back as worthless. But before anyone could shatter the quiet with more defenses, my phone buzzed on the coffee table, vibrating insistently against the wood. The screen lighting up with an incoming call. I glanced down. Mark, the lead investor from the green tech firm. My stomach flipped, a mix of dread and adrenaline. Not now. But timing, it seemed, had its own agenda. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the decline button, the video call still humming in the background with their expectant stares. Tara sniffled louder, a performative hitch in her breath. "Haley, wait!" But the phone kept ringing, insistent, pulling me from the family vortex. With a deep inhale, I swiped to answer, muting the Zoom mic first, my voice low as I pressed the phone to my ear. "Mark? This isn't a great time." He cut me off, his tone buoyant, almost giddy. The background noise of his office faint. Clacking keyboards, muffled cheers. "Haley, I know it's Saturday, but I couldn't wait. We just wrapped the board review? Your proposal? It's a slam dunk. We're signing the contract, full six figures, $350,000 up front with bonuses tied to milestones." I froze, the phone slipping slightly in my grip, slick with sudden sweat. $350,000. My side consulting gig, the one I'd nurtured in secret, late nights revising pitches while they begged for scraps. This was the payoff. The true scale of it hit like sunlight breaking clouds, not just money, but proof. I'd built an empire from nothing, independent, thriving beyond their narrow view of me as the eternal provider. Mark kept talking, his words tumbling out. "Your optimizations for our workflow? Game changer. We'll integrate your app framework across all our startups. This could lead to more equity stakes even. You're a rock star, Haley." I sank back onto the couch edge, my free hand pressing against my forehead, fingers threading through my hair. A laugh bubbled up, short and disbelieving, tears pricking my eyes. Not from pain this time, but release. All those sacrifices, the skipped meals, the isolation, the family demands I'd shouldered to free up cash for my dreams. This call revealed it all. The scale of my success, hidden in plain sight. I wasn't just surviving, I was soaring. Thank you, Mark, that's incredible." My voice cracked, but steady now, infused with a quiet power. He chuckled. "No thanks needed, you earned it. I'll email the docs Monday, sign and we're off, celebrate tonight." We wrapped up quickly, his enthusiasm lingering as I ended the call. The phone warm in my palm. The world sharpened around me, whiskers padding back into the room, tail swishing, the faint hum of traffic outside, the Zoom screen still active, their faces now a mix of impatience and confusion. Mom's voice filtered through, tinny and demanding. "Haley? Who was that? We're not done here." But I was, the humiliation that had gripped me moments ago dissolved, replaced by clarity. This deal wasn't just financial security. It was armor. No more being their ATM, I had my own future, vast and self-made. The lake house betrayal stung less in this light. It was their loss, not mine. I unmuted, my posture straightening, a small smile tugging at my lips despite everything. The external event had landed precisely when I needed it most, flipping the script in ways they couldn't imagine. With Mark's words still echoing in my ear, "You're a rock star, Haley." I set the phone down gently on the coffee table, the screen fading to black, a stark contrast to the chaotic Zoom window where my family's faces remained frozen in mid-reaction, their earlier demands hanging unresolved. The humiliation of their betrayal, the casual announcement of selling my lake house as if it were theirs to pawn, had reached its nadir just moments ago. But this call from Mark shifted everything, illuminating the vast chasm between their perception of me and my reality. My heart steadied, the initial shock morphing into a cool resolve as I unmuted the mic, the faint click audible in the quiet room. Whiskers jumped onto the couch beside me, his paw brushing my leg, a small anchor as I faced them again. Their scramble was about to begin, and for once I held the cards. Mom broke the silence first. Her voice edged with irritation, her hands now fidgeting with the hem of her blouse. "Haley, who was that? We're in the middle of something important here." Important, like stealing from me, was a family agenda item. Dad leaned forward, his brows furrowed deeper, glasses slipping again. He adjusted them with a jerky motion. "Yeah, kiddo, don't ignore us. We need to sort this out." Tara, tissue still in hand, wiped her nose dramatically, her eyes narrowing. "Seriously, sis? Taking a call now? That's rude." Rude. The irony burned. They'd forged my name, committed fraud for a wedding whimsy, and I was rude? I sat straighter, my hands folding calmly in my lap, fingers interlacing without tremor. The deal's confirmation surged through me like adrenaline, bolstering my voice. That was work. A client just confirmed a major contract, $350,000 up front. My consulting business is taking off. The stunned scramble hit like a wave. Mom's eyes widened, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly, like a fish pulled from water. She glanced at Dad, her hand reaching out to grip his arm, nails digging in slightly. He winced but didn't pull away. Consulting business? Since when? Dad sputtered, his face paling under the flush. You never mentioned that? $350,000? That's huge. Tara dropped the tissue, her pout dissolving into genuine surprise, leaning so close her nose nearly touched the screen. Wait, what? You have your own business? Like, making that much money? Their reactions piled on, a frantic overlap. Mom stammering, "But you always said your job was just okay," Dad muttering, "We had no idea," Tara blurting, "That's amazing, so about the wedding?" The hypocrisy unveiled itself in their haste to pivot, from dismissal to sudden interest, as if my success was now theirs to claim. I let the silence reclaim a beat. Watching their discomfort build, Mom shifting on the couch, her foot tapping nervously, Dad rubbing his chin, avoiding eye contact, Tara biting her lip, her earlier tears forgotten. Then, calmly, I exposed it all, my words measured, each one landing like a deliberate step. You had no idea because you never asked. For years I've built this, nights, weekends, sacrificing while sending you money for cars, vacations, showers. But my achievements? Invisible unless they funded yours. Mom interrupted, voice rising. That's not fair, Haley. We're proud of you. Proud? I shook my head slowly, a small mirthless smile forming. Proud when it suits you. Like now, suddenly interested because there's more to take? You sold my lake house, forged my name to pay for Tara's extravagance, assuming I'd accept it quietly, like always. Dad's defense came quick, his finger pointing at the screen again. We thought it was family property, and you could have told us about this business. Could have. The blame shift was textbook. Tara nodded vigorously, her hair bouncing. Yeah, if we knew you were doing so well, maybe we wouldn't have. Her voice trailed, the implication clear, they would have asked for more directly. I leaned closer, my reflection sharpening in the camera preview. That's the point. You assumed I was just the reliable one, the ATM. Tara's engagements, graduations, celebrated. My valedictorian speech, forgotten. My promotions, dismissed. But now with this deal, you scramble to rewrite it. Mom's eyes glistened, real tears this time, her hand pressing to her chest. Haley, we're family. We love you. Love. The word twisted in my gut, but I didn't waver. Love doesn't forge signatures. Love doesn't treat one daughter as a wallet while praising the other for flair. You've taken enough. Time to stop. Their scramble intensified, voices overlapping in a desperate chorus. Dad, let's talk this through. Maybe you can buy it back now. Come on, sis, help with the wedding and we'll forget the house thing. Mom, don't do this, we're sorry if it came off wrong. Sorry if, conditional, always. I felt the power in my calm, the exit building like a crescendo. No, I'm filing an injunction Monday to freeze the sale. And charges for fraud, that's felony, you know. Gasps echoed, Mom's hand flying to her mouth, Dad slumping back, Tara whispering, You wouldn't. I would. You've disowned me in actions long before words. Consider this my exit from the role you cast me in. With that, I hovered the cursor over the leave button, my finger steady. Their pleas blurred. Haley, wait. But I clicked, the screen going dark, their faces vanishing like a bad dream. The room fell silent, save for Whisker's purring as he nudged my hand. I exhaled deeply, the weight lifting, a powerful freedom settling in. No more hypocrisy. I'd exposed it, rejected it, and walked away on my terms. The click of the Zoom exit button echoed in my mind like a door slamming shut, final and irrevocable, leaving the apartment enveloped in a profound quiet that felt both empty and liberating. Whiskers curled tighter against my side, his rhythmic purring the only sound as I stared at the blank screen, the after-image of their shocked faces fading like smoke. My hands, still warm from gripping the mouse, trembled slightly as I set the laptop aside, the cool air from the vent brushing my skin, raising faint goosebumps. The betrayal's sting lingered, a dull ache in my chest, but mingled with it was a nascent relief. The weight of years of unspoken resentments lifting, if only a fraction. In that solitude, the contrast hit me hard. The toxic entanglement I'd just severed versus the genuine connections I'd cultivated elsewhere. My biological family had always been a minefield of conditions and comparisons, but my chosen allies, friends who'd become kin, offered warmth without strings. Needing that anchor now more than ever, I picked up my phone, thumb scrolling to my best friend Lisa's contact. It was late, But she'd understand. I hit call, the ringtone cutting through the hush. Lisa answered on the second ring, her voice sleepy but alert, the faint rustle of bedsheets in the background. Haley, everything okay? It's after 9. I sank deeper into the couch, pulling a throw blanket over my legs, whiskers adjusting with a soft meow. Not really. Family drama, just had the call with them. I spilled it all then, words tumbling in a rush, the wedding demands, the casual reveal of the sale, the forgery admission, their scramble when I mentioned the deal. My voice cracked on the details, fingers twisting the blanket's fringe as I described Mom's pleading eyes, Dad's defensive bluster, Tara's opportunistic pivot. Lisa listened without interrupting, occasional murmurs of, "Oh, Haley," or, "That's awful," punctuating my monologue. When I finished, exhaling shakily, she sighed deeply. "God, I'm so sorry they've always treated you like that. Taking. But forging your name? That's criminal. You did the right thing hanging up." Her empathy wrapped around me like a hug, stark against the cold entitlement I'd just escaped. Lisa wasn't blood, but she'd been my rock since college, met in a business class where we bonded over late-night study sessions and shared dreams. No judgments from her, no backhanded jabs, just real support. "Want me to come over?" she offered, her tone firm. "I can grab ice cream on the way." I glanced at the clock, 9:45, tempted, but the exhaustion weighed heavy. "Tomorrow? Brunch? I need to process." She agreed instantly. "Absolutely. And hey, call Sam about that injunction first thing. Don't let them get away with it." We chatted a bit more, her voice shifting to lighter topics, her latest date flop, a funny work anecdote, to ease the tension. By the end, I was smiling faintly, the knot in my stomach loosening. Hanging up, I felt the pull for more connection, so I texted my close-knit group chat. Lisa, my work buddy Alex, and old roommate Jen. "Rough night with fam. They sold my lake house behind my back. Need venting session tomorrow?" Responses pinged almost immediately. "Alex, WTF, that's messed up. Brunch at our spot, 11? On my way if you need now. Hugs, Lisa, already planning the menu, mimosas mandatory." Their quick rally contrasted sharply with my family's conditional affection, where support came laced with expectations. These friends celebrated my wins without envy. When I bought the lake house, they'd helped paint the walls during a weekend getaway, laughing over pizza and playlists. No asks for money, no comparisons. Just joy in my joy. The next morning dawned bright, sunlight filtering through the blinds in golden shafts, dust motes dancing as I brewed coffee, the aroma filling the kitchen. I dressed simply, jeans, a soft sweater, my movements deliberate, shaking off the residual fog. Driving to the cafe, a cozy spot in Lodo with outdoor seating, the city buzzed around me, joggers on sidewalks, dogs tugging leashes. I arrived first, claiming a table under an umbrella, the wrought iron chair cool against my back. One by one they trickled in, Lisa with her wild curls and a bakery bag of pastries, Alex, tall and lanky, carrying a tray of coffees, Jen hugging me tight before sitting. "Spill," Alex said, sliding me a latte, his eyes concerned behind wireframes. Over eggs and avocado toast, I recounted the video call in detail, the condescending questions, the betrayal bombshell, their hypocritical flip when the deal came up. My fork poked at the food as I described Tara's pout, Mom's tears, Dad's assumptions. They listened intently, Lisa nodding empathetically, hand on mine, Jen gasping at the forgery part, Alex muttering, "That's fraud. Call your lawyer." No interruptions for their stories, no pivots to their needs, just focused presence. When I mentioned the investor call interrupting, their faces lit up. "Haley, that's huge," Jen exclaimed, clinking her mimosa glass to mine. "Your business exploding, we're celebrating that too." Lisa grinned. "Screw them, you've built this empire solo, they're missing out," Alex added. "Chosen family over bio any day, we're here, no strings." The warmth enveloped me, a balm to the previous night's chill. We lingered for hours, conversation flowing. Advice on legal steps, with shared laughs over family horror stories, plans for a lake house reclaim party once resolved. As plates cleared, Jen squeezed my shoulder. "You're not alone in this." Walking out, arms linked, the sun warming our faces, I felt the stark divide, biological ties that drained versus chosen bonds that nourished. This brunch, simple and sincere, reaffirmed my path, severing the toxic to embrace the true. The cafe's door chimed behind us as we stepped out into the bustling Denver street, the midday sun casting long shadows from the skyscrapers, a light breeze carrying the scent of street food from nearby vendors. Lisa linked her arm through mine, Jen and Alex flanking us like a protective phalanx, their laughter lingering from a final joke about family detox retreats. But as we hugged goodbye, Lisa's embrace tight and reassuring, Jen planting a quick kiss on my cheek, Alex clapping my back with a "you've got this," the warmth of that brunch faded into the practical aftermath waiting at home. The drive back was quiet, radio off, my hands gripping the steering wheel at 10 and 2, knuckles whitening slightly as thoughts churned. The injunction, the boundaries, the severance. This wasn't just emotional fallout, it was action time. Arriving at my apartment, I kicked off my shoes by the door, the thud echoing softly, and headed straight to my home office, a small nook with a desk cluttered by notebooks and my laptop. Whiskers followed, jumping onto the chair with a questioning meow. I needed to fortify my world, starting now. First, the legal front. I dialed Sam, my lawyer friend from college who'd evolved into a sharp family law expert, his contact photo popping up. An old snapshot of us at graduation, grins wide. He answered mid-chew, the crunch of what sounded like chips. "Haley? Morning after the storm?" I paced the small room, cordless phone pressed to my ear, my free hand trailing along the bookshelf, fingers brushing spines of business books I'd devoured for my consulting gig. "Yeah, brunch helped, but I need that injunction filed. Today, if possible." Sam swallowed audibly, his tone shifting to professional crispness. "On it, email me the deed copy, any correspondence about the house, and details from the call. Timestamps, what they said about signing." I nodded to myself, sinking into the desk chair, whiskers leaping to my lap. Opening my laptop, the screen brightened and I attached files, the scanned deed from my cloud drive, screenshots of Tara's texts hinting at wedding costs, even a recording I'd impulsively started mid-call, legal in Colorado, one-party consent. My mouse clicks were deliberate, each one a small assertion. "Sent. What's next?" Sam outlined the process, his voice steady over the line, keyboard clacks punctuating his words. "I'll draft the emergency motion to freeze the sale, cite fraud, forgery, court could grant a temporary restraining order by tomorrow if we push. Then we sue for title quieting, maybe criminal referral." Criminal. The word hung heavy, my stomach twisting as I pictured Mom's face crumpling, Dad's bluster deflating, but their assumption that I'd absorb the loss quietly fueled my resolve. I scratched Whisker's ears absent-mindedly, his purr vibrating against my thigh. "Do it, no more enabling." We discussed fees, pro bono for now, friends rates later, and contingencies. If the buyers backed out, if family countered. Hanging up, I exhaled slowly, the breath releasing tension from my shoulders. That was boundary 1, legal walls up, no breach allowed. But boundaries weren't just papers, they were personal fortifications. I stared at my phone, the family group chat glaring with unread messages from last night. Please from Mom, "Call us honey," Tara's emojis begging reconciliation, Dad's curt, "Think about this." My thumb hovered over the block button, heart pounding steadily. Blocking felt extreme, a digital guillotine, but necessary. I started with Tara, her contact, the sister who'd coasted on my sacrifices, block. The confirmation pop-up vanished. A small weight lifting. Mom next, her number tied to years of guilt trips. My finger trembled but I pressed, the screen updating silently. Dad last, his gruff voice echoing in memory, blocked. The phone felt lighter in my hand, the silence profound. No more midnight texts for loans, no casual demands. I set rules in my mind, any contact through Sam only, no direct appeals. This was my fortress, entry by invitation, not assumption. The afternoon deepened the process, turning internal as I handled the emotional debris. I brewed tea, the kettle's whistle piercing the quiet, steam rising as I poured over a mug. Sipping at the desk, I journaled, pen scratching paper, words flowing raw. They saw me as utility, not person, no more. Each sentence built the walls higher, acknowledging the hurt, the invisibility, the comparisons, without letting it define me. I listed new rules, finances mine alone, no bailouts. Time invested in growth, not guilt. Success shared with those who celebrated, not exploited. My handwriting slanted with emphasis, ink smudging slightly from my palm's sweat. Whiskers batted at the pen, and I paused, smiling faintly, scratching his chin. This realization crystallized. Boundaries weren't rejection, they were self-preservation, a reclaiming of agency long surrendered. By evening, Sam's email pinged, draft attached, filing imminent. I reviewed it, the legalese stark, affidavits of ownership, fraud allegations. Signing digitally, my cursor steady, felt like laying the cornerstone. Dinner was simple, stir-fry reheated, eaten at the counter while scrolling neutral feeds, avoiding anything family-related. Bedtime brought reflection. Lying under covers, whiskers curled at my feet, I traced ceiling patterns in the dark. The aftermath wasn't chaos, it was construction. New rules: vulnerability with chosen ones only, strength in solitude. Sleep came easier, the fortress solidifying in my subconscious. Tomorrow the fight continued, but on my terms, boundaries etched deep, unyielding. Morning light filtered through the blinds in soft stripes, painting the bedroom walls in gentle hues as I stirred awake, the sheets tangled around my legs from a night of fitful but restorative sleep. Whiskers was already up, perched on the windowsill, his tail flicking lazily as he watched birds dart outside. The fortress I'd built in my mind held firm, no intrusive thoughts of family pleas piercing the walls, just a quiet determination humming like background static. But as I swung my feet to the floor, the cool hardwood grounding me, a new purpose crystallized. This wasn't just about defense anymore. With the deal's funds incoming and the injunction in motion, I could channel my success outward, turning the pain of betrayal into something generative. Reclaiming my legacy meant rewriting the Brooks name, not as a symbol of entitlement and oversight, but as one of empowerment and giving back. Today, I'd start by transforming the lake house, once recovered, into a haven for women like me, independent souls rebuilding after family fractures. It was time to create impact on my terms. I padded to the kitchen, the ritual of coffee brewing anchoring the morning, the grinder's whir, the drip's steady rhythm, the rich aroma curling up like a promise. Mug in hand, steam rising in lazy spirals, I settled at my desk, laptop humming to life. The screen glowed with emails, Sam's update on the filing, court date set for next week, strong case, and Mark's contract docs ready for signature. My finger hovered over the trackpad, a micro-hesitation born of years doubting my worth, but I clicked sign, the digital ink flowing smoothly. $350,000 wired by end of day, bonuses pending. The confirmation pinged, and I leaned back sipping coffee, the bitter warmth spreading through my chest. This money wasn't for hoarding or handouts, it was fuel. I opened a new document, fingers poised over keys, typing Brooks Empowerment Retreat, a name that flipped the script. My surname now synonymous with strength, not strings. The idea had simmered for months, sparked by late-night journals at the lake house, where I'd stare at the water's ripples and ponder my path. Women in my consulting circles shared stories, sisters overshadowed, parents demanding, dreams deferred for family duty. I'd nod, relating silently. Now, with resources, I could act. Micro-actions unfolded as I built the plan. Searching nonprofit templates online, my mouse scrolling through forms, eyes scanning clauses on tax exemptions. I drafted a mission statement, words flowing haltingly at first. To provide sanctuary and skills for women reclaiming autonomy after familial betrayal, then gaining momentum, sentences sharpening with each revision. My free hand drummed the desk lightly, a restless beat syncing with my pulse. This wasn't revenge, it was reclamation, turning my isolation into community. By mid-morning I phoned Lisa, the call connecting on the first ring, her voice bright amid background cafe clatter. "Haley, how's the fortress holding?" I smiled, twisting the phone cord. Old habit from landlines. "Solid, but I'm expanding, turning the lake house into a retreat for women like us, mentoring, workshops, kayaking therapy." She gasped, then laughed, pure delight. "Yes, count me in for yoga sessions." We brainstormed, her as volunteer coordinator, me handling logistics. My notes scribbled across a pad: guest capacity 8, programs, financial literacy, boundary setting seminars. Each idea built the vision, my pen pressing harder, ink bold. Hanging up, empowerment surged. This was legacy, mine, untethered. Lunch was a quick salad at the counter, fork spearing greens mechanically as my mind raced ahead. Post-meal, I dove deeper, emailing architects for eco-upgrades, solar panels, expanded dorms, attaching sketches I'd doodled, lines crude but intent clear. Responses trickled in, one quoting feasibly within budget. I paced while reading, feet tracing the rug's pattern, fingers clenching and unclenching with excitement. This positive impact rippled outward, scholarships for attendees, partnerships with local therapists. I envisioned the first group, women arriving wary, leaving empowered, the lake's calm mirroring their growth. My family name, once a burden, now a beacon. Brooks as in breaking free, not breaking banks. Afternoon brought outreach, posting on LinkedIn about the initiative, my cursor lingering before publish. Seeking collaborators for Women's Empowerment Retreat in Grand Lake. Focus, rebuilding after family dynamics. DM for details. Likes poured in, messages from strangers sharing stories. My parents did the same. Need this. I replied thoughtfully, fingers flying, building connections. One woman, a marketer, offered pro bono branding. Another, a chef, meal plans. Each interaction wove the net wider, my chest expanding with purpose. Whiskers batted at my elbow, demanding pets. I obliged, his fur soft under my palm, a grounding touch amid the flurry. As evening approached, I drove to a nearby park, needing air to process. Bench under oaks, notebook in lap, I jotted reflections. Legacy isn't blood, it's choices. Wind rustled leaves, my hair whipping gently. This event, the day's creation, reclaimed it all. The house as symbol of independence, success as tool for good. No more family shadow, Brooks meant impact, on my terms. Returning home, dinner simmering, pasta boiling, sauce bubbling, I felt whole. The phone stayed silent, boundaries intact. Tomorrow, more steps. But today sealed it. Positive change, self-defined. The pasta water bubbled softly on the stove, tiny bursts rising to the surface, like suppressed thoughts finally breaking free, while I stirred the sauce with a wooden spoon, the rich tomato scent filling the kitchen and mingling with the faint pine aroma from a candle I'd lit earlier. Whiskers weaved between my legs, his tail brushing my calves in figure eights, a silent demand for attention that pulled a small smile from me despite the day's emotional churn. Dinner was simple tonight, a ritual of normalcy after the whirlwind of planning the retreat. Emails sent, ideas jotted, the Brooks name reframed in my mind as something powerful, not burdensome. But as I drained the pasta, steam clouding the window above the sink, a deeper quiet settled over me, urging reflection. The events of the past week, the betrayal, the confrontation, the building of new paths, coalesced into this singular moment of introspection, alone in my apartment, where I could finally confront the core truth. My worth wasn't tied to their approval, or anyone else's. It was internal, forged in the fires of my own efforts, and recognizing that brought a peace I'd chased for years. I plated the food carefully, twirling strands of spaghetti onto the fork before setting it down, the steam rising in lazy curls that distorted the air like old memories resurfacing. Sitting at the small dining table, I pushed the plate aside for a moment, my fingers tracing the grain of the wood, feeling the subtle ridges under my fingertips, a tactile reminder of solidity in a world that had felt so unsteady. The lake house flashed in my mind, not as the site of theft, but as the symbol of my independence. Those early mornings kayaking, the paddle dipping into cool water with a soft splash, droplets scattering like freed worries. I'd bought it at 28, young and determined, scraping savings while they partied on my dime. My hand clenched the fork unconsciously, knuckles whitening, then relaxed as I breathed deeply, the inhale filling my lungs with the kitchen's warmth. Why had I sought their validation so long? Flashbacks flickered, Mom's dismissive wave at my graduation, Dad's chuckle over Tara's flair, the endless checks I'd written, each one a quiet plea for recognition that never came. But here, in this quiet evening, the realization deepened, layer by layer, like peeling an onion without the tears. I sipped water from a glass, the cool liquid sliding down my throat, grounding me as I stared at the flickering candle flame, its dance hypnotic. My worth wasn't in the money I'd sent or the silences I'd endured. It was in the resilience that kept me going. The deal with Mark, that $350,000 confirmation, wasn't luck. It was the culmination of nights hunched over my laptop, eyes straining at screens, fingers aching from typing while the world slept. I'd built my consulting business in secrecy, not for hiding, but for purity. No external praise needed, just the satisfaction of creation. My shoulders relaxed, tension ebbing like tide pulling back, revealing smoother sand beneath. The retreat idea, born from that strength, was proof. Using my success to lift others, turning personal scars into communal healing. I didn't need their apologies or regrets. Their betrayal had been the catalyst, forcing me to see my own light. As I finally twirled a bite of pasta, chewing slowly, the flavors bursting, garlic sharp, basil fresh, I felt the internal shift solidify. My free hand rested on my chest, feeling the steady heartbeat beneath, a rhythm I'd ignored in favor of their chaotic drum. Self-validation wasn't a grand epiphany with fireworks. It was this quiet acceptance, the unclenching of fists I'd held tight for decades. I swallowed, setting the fork down with a soft clink, and leaned back in the chair, the wood creaking faintly. Peace washed over me then, warm and enveloping, like slipping into the lake's embrace on a summer dawn. No more chasing shadows of approval. I was enough, had always been. The phone remained silent on the counter, its screen dark, a testament to boundaries that now protected this inner sanctuary. Whiskers jumped onto the table, nosing at my plate, and I gently pushed him away, scratching behind his ears instead, his purr vibrating through my fingers. The evening stretched, and I moved to the couch, curling up with a blanket, the fabric soft against my skin. My mind wandered deeper into the realization, exploring its contours like fingers mapping a familiar scar. Worth was internal, in the pride of signing that deed at 28, the thrill of landing my first client, the courage to say no on that video call. Their forgery? A desperate grasp at what they'd never earned. My eyes closed briefly, lashes brushing cheeks, as I visualized the future, the retreat buzzing with women sharing stories, laughter echoing off the lake house walls. I'd lead workshops, my voice steady, hands gesturing without tremor, empowering others to find their peace. This wasn't about erasing the past, it was integrating it, alchemizing hurt into wisdom. A soft sigh escaped my lips, my body sinking deeper into the cushions, muscles unwinding one by one. By the time I rose to clear the dishes, the sink filling with soapy water, bubbles forming iridescent clusters, the peace had rooted firmly. Hands submerged, scrubbing plates with deliberate circles, I affirmed it silently. I am worthy. Not because of what I give, but because of who I am. The water drained with a gurgle, swirling away residues, much like the old doubts circling the drain of my consciousness. Drying my hands on a towel, folding it neatly over the oven handle, I felt complete, validated from within. Ready for whatever came next. The night outside darkened, stars peeking through the window, and I turned off the lights one by one, the clicks echoing my resolved steps toward bed. True peace, I realized, was this. Self-sourced, unshakable. The steam from the draining sink had barely dissipated when I flicked off the kitchen light, plunging the room into a soft glow from the hallway, and made my way to the living room window. Staring out at the city lights twinkling like distant promises, I couldn't help but think about how many others are out there, caught in similar webs of family expectations, giving pieces of themselves until there's nothing left. Have you ever felt like the invisible supporter, pouring your energy into others while your own dreams gather dust? It's a quiet thief, that role, stealing your sense of self one handout at a time. But here's what I learned. Breaking free isn't about burning bridges with fire, it's about building your own path with steady hands. By holding my family accountable, freezing that sail, and stepping away from being their safety net, I reclaimed my power. And you can too. If you've got a story like mine, betrayals big or small, moments where you finally said enough, share it in the comments below. Your experiences might just light the way for someone else scrolling through, feeling alone. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough in cutting those ties? Drop a comment below, let's discuss, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of turning pain into purpose. Remember, your worth isn't in what you give away, it's in the strength you hold within. Keep shining.